Hey everyone, I'm Rick Beato. On today's Everything Music, it's the top 20 rock keyboard sounds of all time. This is the fifth installment in the series. We started with drums, then we went to guitar, then we did bass, and then vocals. Now we're on to keyboards. Now the tricky thing about keyboards in rock music is that you've got pianos, you got organs, you got electric pianos, Wurlitzers, Rhodes, you've got all different types of synthesizers, so there's a lot of things to choose from. I want to reiterate, like in the other videos, that this list is not in a particular order. So there might be a few extra ones thrown on the end like I've done in the other videos, but it's not in a particular order. However, coming in at number 1 is the organ sound from a ballad that Peter Frampton, when I interviewed him, told me was the greatest ballad of all time. Let's check it out. That was, of course, the organ part from the 1967 release by Procol Harum, Whiter Shade of Pale. Those of you that know Bach's Air on the G string will recognize that it has a lot of similarities to that. That's from the Orchestral Suite number 3. And I would argue that you would have to have this on any top 20 list of greatest keyboard sounds in rock history. Coming in at number 2. That was actually a video that's on YouTube, if you just type in Ray Manzarek, Riders on the Storm, where he's demonstrating the whole idea behind the raindrops sound on the Fender Rhodes there. Now, I can't just use one sound from the Doors, so also coming in at number 2 is... That was, of course, the Vox Continental organ, which has a really unique sound. You can see Ray Manzarek playing it here, along with his left hand playing the Rhodes piano bass, because the Doors didn't have a bass player. Coming in at number 3. That was Greg Allman playing the lower harmony part to the Dickie Betts guitar melody from the song Jessica by the Allman Brothers. This song has a lot of different keyboard parts in it. In addition to the Hammond organ, we also have Chuck Leavell playing electric piano and the real piano. Coming in at number 4. That was Gary Numan playing his 1979 hit Cars live, which was off the Pleasure Principle album. The Mini Moog, which doubles the bass, and the Poly Moog, which plays the string line, was going to become the sound of 80s synth pop to follow. It was a very influential song. Coming in at number 5. So who doesn't know the piano sound to Imagine? It's instantly recognizable, has this little, sounds almost like a slapback echo on it. It's very, very dark. And you put that with Lennon's voice that has that same type of effect on it, and it gives this really intimate sound. It's one of the most recognizable piano sounds in rock history. Coming in at number 6. That was, of course, Richard Wright from Pink Floyd's brilliant keyboard work on both piano and Hammond organ on the song Echoes from one of my favorite Pink Floyd records, Metal. Echoes was released on the 30th of October 1971, and the track comes in at the incredible length of 23 minutes and 31 seconds. At number 7 we have... I had to have the organ sound from Hitch A Ride off Boston's first album. Tom Scholz's organ sound is one of the finest ever. Not only that, but his playing is incredibly good. In addition to that, on this record, you also have the great clav and organ sounds from this tune. I love when Tom has that cloud of guitars that starts with the organ swell just before the clav and organ come in together there. It sounds like... It's just an amazing, amazing sound. Coming in at number 8. Hold your head up. Whoa. Hold your head up. Whoa. Hold your head up. Whoa. Hold your head up. That was Hold Your Head Up by the band Argent. Now, Argent was fronted by Rod Argent, who is also a founding member of the Zombies. Rick Wakeman cites this as the greatest organ solo of all time. Coming in at number 9. That was Rick Davies playing the intro solo on Bloody Well Right from Supertramp's Crime of the Century record. That's a perfect example of what a Wurlitzer electric piano sounds like. At number 10 we have... That was Brian Eno from the song Beauty Queen off For Your Pleasure by Roxy Music. For those of you that are not familiar with Brian Eno, if you know the U2 records, Unforgettable Fire, Joshua Tree, Octone Baby, those records he and Daniel Lanois co-produced, and he had a massive influence in the sound of them. He is a sonic genius when it comes to keyboards, really when it comes to any type of sound. Coming in at number 11. That was, of course, Stevie Wonder playing a live version of Superstition, which is off the 1972 record Talking Book. If you want to hear what the clavinet sounds like off the actual recording, check it out. Coming in at number 12. For those of you that have watched my channel for the past couple of years, I always bring up the fact that Angie is my favorite song. It's off the Rolling Stones' Goat's Head Soup album, which came out in 1973. And one of the reasons that it's my favorite song, not only is it the melody and the great chord progression, but Nicky Hopkins' piano solo and piano part throughout the tune is just unbelievably beautiful. He was a session player from the 60s through the 90s. He actually died in 1994 at the age of 50, but he played with the Kinks, the Who, the Rolling Stones, Jefferson Airplane, Steve Miller, you name it. He's on so many recordings. He was just an outstanding player. At number 13 we have... That was, of course, the keyboard intro to the song Jump by Van Halen off their 1984 record. That keyboard intro played by Eddie Van Halen is one of the most recognizable synthesizer sounds from the entire 80s. Coming in at number 14. If the sun refused to shine, I would still be loving you. When I began making my list for this video, one of the first things that popped into my head was the organ sound from the Zeppelin song Thank You. It's just really gorgeous, the way that the reverb on it, the way the drawbars are set. And I thought, well, I can't actually play that because the video will get taken down. So I went and looked for a live version, which is what I found here. And that live version then morphs into a bootleg from the 70s with John Paul Jones playing an intro to Thank You. And John Paul Jones was a genius. All the extra parts he did beyond playing bass, the keyboard parts, the mandolin parts, the recorder parts on Stairway to Heaven. John Paul Jones is the man.
Coming in at number 15.
For those of you Genesis fans out there, you've probably been wondering, okay, when's he going to play Tony Banks? I mean, I really could have done this entire video about Tony Banks' keyboard sounds. So I started thinking, well, there's so many different sounds that he used, and I'm a huge lover of the Trick of the Tail record. The songs on there just blow me away. Entangled, Squonk, Dancing on a Volcano. I'm just amazing. But I thought to myself, what is a really quintessential Tony Banks string part? This is an arp quadra that he's playing in here. I went and researched it for the video, and I found the picture and was like, yeah, that's definitely it. And Behind the Lines was I think it was the opening track off Duke. And I remember when I was growing up, one of my buddies got an arp quadra, and I'll never forget going over to his house and playing on it, and I got so psyched. So that's one of the reasons why I picked that particular song. But really, there are hundreds of Tony Banks keyboard parts that could have gone on here.
Coming in at number 16.
So Keith Emerson, just like Tony Banks, there's so many different sounds that he used. But to me, the end solo of Lucky Man on the Mini Moog is one of the most recognizable. And when I was growing up, I loved that solo. There's so many things about it, all the pitch bend things and the fact that he used some really interesting notes. I just thought those were so... it was so spooky sounding, and it's interesting that they used to play the entire solo on the radio. They would play these long songs like that. I wish we'd get back to that. But Keith Emerson was just a brilliant, brilliant keyboardist.
Coming in at number 17.
When I think of Elton John's piano sound, I think of a bright sound, and I think of really melodic hooks, right? Like the beginning of this, da 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 da. But if you think of songs like Your Song, there's so many of them that have these incredible hooks right at the beginning of the song. There are so many great Elton John songs, it was difficult to choose which one to use for this video.
Next at number 18.
Let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to Strawberry Field.
I wanted to put a bunch of Beatles songs in here. The intro of Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, the piano sound from Lady Madonna. You know, there's many different Beatles sounds that are so original, but because they're blockers, it would have the video taken down. So I remember seeing McCartney do this intro to Strawberry Fields. on the mellotron, and I was thinking to myself, okay, what are the best examples of a mellotron? And that's the best example I could think of besides Nights in White Satin by the Moody Blues. Those are the two sounds, but this in particular, the flute sound from the mellotron used in the beginning of Strawberry Fields, that is really the classic mellotron sound.
Coming in at number 19.
Okay, I love the organ part and sound in Roundabout. I did a whole What Makes This Song Great about it. And I always wonder, how can Rick Wakeman be dressed like a wizard yet play such cool organ parts?
And lastly, at number 20, we have...
Lastly, we have John Lord from Deep Purple. His Hammond organ is actually not going through a Leslie. It's going through a Marshall amp. That's one of the heaviest sounds. That's as heavy as any rock guitarist. I don't care who it is. That is an intense, heavy sound. There are other songs that I wanted to put on the list, like Inca Roads by Frank Zappa with George Duke playing. But once again, I can't play it. This was a really tough video. This is one of the longest videos that I've ever made because not only was it difficult to decide because there are so many different types of keyboards, and I had a fairly good idea who I was going to include in it because I think this is more, I want to say obvious. I mean, I thought about putting Geddy Lee in there. There's many Rush sounds, and Geddy Lee is a great keyboardist and had really great keyboard sounds. I tried to stick to actual keyboardists. Now, I did have Eddie Van Halen in there, but for the most part, these are all keyboard sounds by keyboardists. That's all for now. Please subscribe here to my Everything Music YouTube channel. If you're interested in the Beato book, go to my website at www.rickbeato.com. And if you want to support the channel even more, think about becoming a member of the Beato Club. You can find out more about it on my website as well. Thanks for watching.